All right, folks, it is Monday and it is time for a live Q&A. And as always, if you're new here, this is something that we do every week. You can come in here and we will answer your drone questions. So put them down in the comments. We have Jason in the back room over there that is looking at all the comments. And then we have the entire team actually today who is behind the screen back there. Yeah. Well, my screen, this thing right here, camera, I guess. Sadly, today is Ethan's last live Q&A. So Ethan has been with us for a very long time now, several years, since pretty much the very beginning of Ethan was the first person that was behind the camera at Pilot Institute. He was in the old office in the shed. He was in the mall when we moved to the mall, and then here, of course, when we moved to the new location. He's going to be moving on to a different location, unfortunately, so we're losing Ethan, but he has been a great asset through all of this. A lot of the animations that you see on these screens during the live were his idea. He set up the whole machine back there so that he could do that very easily. So make sure you say a big thank you to Ethan in the comments for all the work he's done for us. So Wednesday, I think, will be his last day. We're going to go out to dinner, and then he'll be on his way to California. Yeah.
Thank you, Ethan.
All right. Let's see. Let's say hi to a bunch of folks. As always, Thorough Inspired is here first. We have Hike and Fly, Curtis Warren, Travis Cheney, Alexander Blankenship, Oren is here, Scott, FPV Scenery, Dean Schaefer, FPV, I said that. Jillian, Oren Jillian from the community is here. Sergio de la Garza. We have James Cox, Bob Rock, Jim Schlusseman. We have Old Deadeye, Drone Eagle, JG's Garage and Unboxing, Psycho Sumo. I don't think I've seen this name before. It's funny. Anoke Boomer, Mountain Man, Air Bear Visuals, several of them. Michael Thomas, Yellow Rose Drones, as always, longtime supporter. Corey Atsbury. We have Taiji, Smeon, Full Circle, Mark Saxon. A lot of folks today. That's awesome. Love to see this. Jonathan, Chica. Who did I miss? I thought I missed someone here. Nope, didn't. Jason Williams, Scott Jordan, After As Media, Cloud Camper, Steve A, TIE Fighter, who else? JJ, Burkhart, X Helis X, Formula Film Photography, Just Johnny, David Frame. Holy crap. All right, I might have to stop. Jared is here. First Medic, Russell Whitaker, just all the names that I'm trying to recognize here. Maids Jack, Tom Rada, Horizon Adventure Media, Jeff H, Philip Studio, Jay Gilormini. Who else do we have? All right. Woo! Femi is here as well. So welcome on board. Like I said, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I think we have a surprise. Don't we have a surprise on Friday for news update? Or is it later? I think it might be later in the week. Maybe not this week, next week. You'll see. You'll see when it happens. First thing you'll see. Okay. Whew. Let's go with the first question. Travis Cheney says, what can drone footage tell us about weather damage and weather prediction? Interesting. Any update on education for foreign drone laws? All right, let's do one at a time. Weather damage. Well, I mean, a lot. Drones are used a lot, actually, for looking at damage from storms, whether it's hurricanes or any kind of fires. We saw that in California, for example. We've seen it with the hurricanes in Florida, tornado after tornado damage. So a lot. As far as weather prediction, I don't know, other than sending drones inside of these events, which we have seen. NOAA had underwater, not maybe overwater drones, floating drones, if you want to call them that, that were deployed during the last couple of hurricanes to capture a lot of the winds inside of these storms. So yeah, we can definitely learn a lot from that. The difficulty obviously is getting inside of these phenomenon and not ripping the aircraft apart. But yeah, as far as education on foreign laws, not something that is high up on our list, unfortunately. We are so busy as it is with keeping track of regulation in the United States. We do have a couple articles available on our website, but my biggest worry is having somebody who can keep track of those changes when the regulation changes. I don't want to put out something that becomes outdated as soon as there's a change. So it would require more than likely at least 1 or 2 people that would need to do that on a regular basis. So not something we have in the plans right now, but hopefully maybe in the future. Oren says, we registered the Matrice 4T under the LLC, under 107. Do we or I need to keep some type of logbook for this drone? Son and I are currently flying, and I am the only one going for the Part 107. No logbook required. With that being said, you saying you're the only one flying right now, the only one going for Part 107. Obviously, if you're operating as an LLC, the implication is that you will be flying for non-recreational purposes. So make sure that everyone flying that drone is 107 certified or has somebody to fly with them that is 107 certified. Okay, Drone Eagle says, Greg and crew, with all of the super sophisticated controllers like the RC Plus, so many buttons, have you contemplated deep dives for some of those? Yes, we have contemplated that. I think there is one course where we have a deep dive for the controller inside of the course for that specific drone. But yeah, there is definitely a lot of different functions now and things that you can customize. So expect deep dives going forward. I have more complicated controllers to have more information about the controller in itself. I want to participate in tower inspections. There are one nearby. Do I need to ask permission to do it? It's just for my research and study at this point. No, not necessarily. The only thing you have to be careful is where you're taking off and landing from. Make sure that you have approval from the property owner, but that's it. Otherwise, no. Airspace is not limited at this time for doing these inspections. I would say be careful, don't get too close to the tower for sure. So there is no risk of you hitting, that tower. But yeah, that's it. Chica says, hi from Arizona. These winds are crazy today. Yeah, this is spring, I guess. Spring is in Arizona. We are lucky. I think this new location downtown, the winds are not nearly, when the winds are high, we don't get touched nearly as much. We have behind this building on this side, we have a big, tall hill kind of that's right behind us with a church on top of it. So it's blocking a lot of the wind that way. And then on this side, the building is kind of underground, so it actually helps quite a bit. So yeah, we don't hear the wind nearly as much as we did when we were in the other location. But yeah, it's been last couple weeks have been pretty windy. Taijai says, good evening. Does the new Mavic 4 Pro remote recognize drone deploy as does the Mavic 3 Pro remote? Not that I have seen at the moment. So what we've noticed over, and to be fair, we haven't had our hands on one of those yet. So, but I don't think you will be able to install any apps on these controllers. That's kind of a DJI policy. I might be wrong on that. Don't quote me because again, we haven't been able to get our hands on it. But yeah. Mountain Man says, do you have an easy but efficient way of tracking flight and battery logs and maintenance, such as a spreadsheet or an application? Yeah, the best way to do this is to use, unfortunately, most of these are paid services, is to use Aloft Air Control has the ability to do that, or to use something called Air data. Okay, that's another service. So I think one looks a bit more modern than the other one, but both of them have pretty good tracking abilities for doing this. You can also download the logs from the DJI Assistant app directly onto your computer, but that takes definitely a little bit more manpower, which I think you would easily pay for by paying a software to do this. So Steven says, will the new DJI RC2 Pro be backwards compatible? Will it work with the Air 3 and Air 3S? Yes, the word on the street is that it is compatible with the Air 3, Air 3S, and the Mini 4 Pro. Brian says, what's your opinion of the Mavic not being released in the United States? I think it's a complex issue. I think DJI was kind of forced to be in that position, quite frankly. I think this is one of these situations again where whatever DJI does, there's going to be a backlash, right? So let's look at the two options. DJI releases the drone in the United States. At the time when they did, there was 125% tariff, which means that drone would have cost between $5,000 and $8,000, depending on the option that you get. And people would have been pissed because that drone would have been overly expensive, to be fair, to no fault of DJI. If they don't release the drone like they did, and people would be annoyed because now the drone is not available, there are other issues at play. To be completely transparent, CBP, Customs Border Patrol, has been blocking DJI drones at the border, preventing them from entering the United States for several months now. Not just because of the Mavic 4, but because of other things. So the corrupted politicians behind this push, and they know who they are basically forcing the hand of DJI to not release the drone in this market. And unfortunately, you're the ones, and we are the ones that are going to suffer from this decision. But at one point, you got to put yourself in the shoes of DJI. This is... There's other markets in the world that they can sell the drone to. They showed it on release. There are plenty of influencers all over the world that received the drone ahead of time and were able to review it and get it in the hands of these people in every other country but the United States. So at one point, it's going to be up to us, the citizens of this country, to let the folks know that are making these stupid rules that they're stupid rules, and that we do want to have this drone available because they haven't been able to provide us with the proof that this drone is not safe. And so you have to question at one point why every other country in the world, every other country in the world is not banning DJI, is not preventing DJI from getting into their country at the Customs and Border Patrol level. Right? You gotta wonder about that. And so that's my opinion. You ask, I told. All right. David says, where is a good place to check for current flying rules on BLM land? BLM land is, last we checked, is open for flying drones. So you might need to have a... Let me think about that for a second. No, yeah, you should be able to fly. I don't think there is any restrictions because we've done that before. One of the places where we fly is on BLM land. I don't think there's any restrictions there. Not a drone question, but will Pilot Institute make a commercial flashcard app? Jack, if you look in... Oh, commercial, I'm sorry. Commercial airplane pilots. That's a good question. I need to check with Tom on that and see the status of where we are. We do have a lot of flashcards from private pilot that can be reconverted to the commercial side. So yeah, all the flashcards now are contained in our QuizBank platform, which is the quizzing platform that we developed. So you would be able to find them in there once they're ready. We have them in the private. We have them in instrument. I'll check with Tom and see where we are with the commercial stuff. Tom says it's in progress. Okay, there you go. He just commented in the thing. By the way, kind of unrelated, but somewhat related. For those of you that are students in the course, we have released the new learning management system that we have been working on for a year and a half now. That is going to replace the current learning management system that we have. It's called Teachable. And it is available now for testing. It's still a beta testing. We're not forcing anyone to use it. This is something voluntary. Anything that you do on the new platform will hold on before I say that. Anything you do in the new platform is not lost. Let's put it this way. I don't think it transfers back to Teachable because I don't think we have a way to do that. But at least you can go and check out the new look. You can check out that you can log in. You should have. Everybody has a login. Everybody has been imported. We imported a lot of people in that. We imported 400,000 people in that platform and 750,000 enrollments in that platform. So the only thing at the moment is that some of your progress might not have transferred 100% by the time you log in. So by the time you log in, it might take a few minutes for all of the completion progress from Teachable transfers over. But go take a look at it. It's really cool. It's kind of cleaner and cleaner, more user-friendly in general. We'll have the ability to offer far more features in this new platform because it's our own. We've developed this in-house. So I'm pretty excited. Much faster, much better image quality. There is now subtitles in 7 different languages in the app. So all these subtitles are pretty good. I've actually tested the French version. The subtitles are really good. There might be little things, little nuances that it didn't pick up, but yeah, it's a big upgrade. So let us know what you think about the new platform. But I wanted to mention this before we move on to the next thing. It's something that we've spent a lot of time working on. Donnie says, get approved for an OOP waiver using the my Mini 4 Pro. Does that cover me for any OOP operation or just what operation I mentioned in the application for the waiver? Donnie, you have to go read the approval that you got, the waiver that you got from the FA. It will tell you all the limitations in there. But if you only requested a specific location, then that's it. That's where you're going to be limited. It's all, the devil is in the detail with those waivers. You have to read everything that's in here because it will tell you what you can and cannot do. And it may have changed a couple things. So Paul says, I have a sub 250 drone, but will like to fly my drone at night, sometimes specifically for the 4th of July, and going to put a strobe light, but is going to be over the 250 gram limit. Do I have to register the drone? Yep. If you put anything on the drone that takes it over 250 grams, you will need to register the drone with the FAA, which is fine. It's $5, good for 3 years. And it, not only that, you will also need to have remote ID because as soon as you register the drone, then it needs to have remote ID. That's a little flaw in the regulation. Well, I don't know if it's a flaw, but it's something to pay attention to. Femi says, I'm trying to decide between the Mavic 4 Pro models, but there is almost no information on the Fly More combo or base version, just endless coverage of the expensive Creator combo. DJI website is vague. I don't know what additional information you want. Let's put it this way. We did get information from DJI as far as the combos. If you watch, we made a short. If you go to our YouTube channel on the drone side, you will see that we made a short the day it got released. And in there, we have pictures of what is included in each of these packages. So yeah, take a look at that. But typically, and I'm going to add this, typically the base version only has 1 battery and it's pretty limited. The Fly More combo has additional batteries. That's really what you're paying for. Domicile 3 says, when will solid state battery become available for drones? They're 50% lighter, 2x the energy density, and 3x the life cycle. It's a good question. I don't know. That's a good question for DJI, quite frankly. All right, what's going on here? I'm getting a lot of notifications from our Slack. Okay, how do I get Air Control app to allow me to enter my serial number and my battery serial number? Ooh, what do you need to do that for, I guess is my question, formerly film photography. I'm not sure why you, what portion of the app allows you to enter that stuff. IBX CodeCat says, I noticed that the DJI Mini 3 will not broadcast remote ID when using the small battery. Is this a problem with my drone or an intentional thing by DJI? Remote ID works with a larger battery. Yeah, this is not you. This is a DJI decision that they made a while back. Again, one of these decisions where you can piss off half the people or piss off the other half. They decided to piss off that half, which was Part 107 users. But the drone, if you're a Part 107 user and you have a Mini 3, then you will need to get, and you have small batteries, you will need to get a module on top of your drone in order to broadcast remote ID. It will not do it by default. DJI decided to do this because they wanted to please the other side of the equation, which is recreational pilots, which is who this drone was designed for. They did not want to force remote ID. They didn't want to force recreational operators to broadcast remote ID when they didn't have to. That's the bottom line. Phew. Next, Philip D. Studio says, in one of the recent newsletters, Greg teased a potential bad situation with the FAA after flying a drone over the Grand Canyon. Can you share more about what happened and what the outcome was? Yeah, that's a great question. This happened 11 years ago. This happened in 2014 when I first moved to Arizona. I bought a DJI Phantom 1. Okay, the very first Phantom that came out, and super excited to go fly it. At the time, 2014, no Part 107 existed. Not a whole lot of information existed about operating a drone anywhere. And I decided to look on the Grand Canyon website about operating UAS at the Grand Canyon, and there was no information that said that you couldn't. And so I took off my drone right there at the Grand Canyon and on the North Rim, which is beautiful, quieter. And then somebody saw me, and I think they knew the people that were the guards that were working at the Grand Canyon. Not guards, what do you call them? The Rangers. Thank you. They knew the ranger, and so I got pulled over leaving that spot. And then they asked me if I was flying. I told them yes, and they said you can't do that, blah blah blah. So we had a long discussion. I said I even checked the website. I obviously didn't do it on purpose, and they gave me a ticket. They gave me a $50 or $70 ticket for flying my drone. They didn't confiscate my drone, which I was lucky because I heard that they could do that, and it scared me, quite frankly. That was in 2014, and I sold a drone after that. I was too worried about losing my pilot certificates. I was, and I still am, a CFI, a certified flight instructor, commercial pilot on the airplane side, and I didn't want this to affect my FAA certificates. So I sold the drone, and then and it started to cogitate in my head that we needed better education for drones. That's, if you want to think about where the idea of Pilot Institute kind of started, where the seed was planted, it was probably that event right there. That's when I thought there's got to be information to help people not do what I just did. And so, yeah, a few years later, I decided to start working on, when Part 107 became a thing, and then when there was more established regulation is when I really started looking into it. And then when I bought the original Mavic, that was my next drone, the Mavic 1. When I bought that, get my Part 107, and then that was kind of it. So yeah, I was the original, that guy. I was the original, that guy. So don't be that guy, was me. That's, but not on purpose. Everybody makes mistakes. And this is also why when I see people making mistakes with drones, I always think about, a lot of it is unintentional. People don't really want to go make mistakes and do something dumb. They just happen to do it. This was something dumb completely. All right. Long story short. Next. What is a cheap solution for gathering map data? Which drone do you recommend? Cheap and mapping doesn't always go hand in hand necessarily, but there is free software, and I think I saw Jared in there answering some of these questions. But there's software that you can get. Like Jared said, what is the purpose of collecting the data? That really helps with kind of figuring out, what drone needs to happen. But the minis are possible. There's now an SDK for the minis. If you don't know what SDK is, it's something that DJI releases to help third-party developers create applications that can control the drone. Not all DJI drones have SDKs, meaning not all drones can be controlled by a third-party app. The third-party app is important because it is what creates the pattern, controls the drone to go in a specific pattern to collect data, which makes it a lot easier for you to collect that data. So only certain models are good for that, but the minis, some of the versions of the minis are able to do this. Obviously, there's much more expensive drones like the Mavic 3E, 3 Enterprise, which is kind of like the gold standard at the moment for doing this. So yeah, but I think Jared answered a lot of these questions on the in the comments. But yeah, okay. Why DJI insist not to open manufacturing here in North America, and done with all this argument? It's, believe it or not, it's not about country of manufacturing. It's 100% about the fact that DJI is owned by a Chinese citizen and is based in China. So even if they open manufacturing in the United States, I don't think it would change anything. There are people that are very vocal about DJI needing to be outed from the US market so that it can make room for other companies to compete or to take over the leftover market. And so I don't think manufacturers would change anything, manufacturing the drones in the US. And also keep in mind, so I hear this a lot, right? This is an argument that we hear a lot. We need to manufacture drones in the United States, which is a great argument, which is a great idea, okay? On the ground, is this something that we can do at the moment? Is this something that we can do today? If DJI gets banned tomorrow, who is currently capable of creating all of the components that go into a drone, right? PCBs, motors, propellers is probably the easiest of all of these, but batteries and everything that's related to this, right? Who's able to do this? And which company at the moment has a drone that looks like a Mavic or an Air or even a Mini that is based in the United States? And so from here, the idea of manufacturing drone in the United States is a pipe dream at the moment. I hate to be blunt, but it's a pipe dream. We have 3 to possibly 5 years before we can do any of this if we decide to start doing this today, if we decide to we as a country decide to invest in manufacturing in the United States. And I will even say, this is a much larger issue than just drones. This is manufacturing of high-end technology in the United States in general. Cell phones, computers, whatever you think about that's high end, right? We lost that edge when we decided to allow China, and I hate to get political, even though it's not political, right? We lost that edge when we allowed China to become leaders in that field, right? I listened to a great interview recently from Tim Cook from Apple, who talked to some politician, I think, where he said, if you think that the edge that China has right now on manufacturing is low cost, You're missing the point entirely. He said, I can go to China today and find engineers that have the ability to create the product that I need to create when I couldn't do this in the United States, that could manufacture this thing from the beginning all the way to the end. We just don't have this. This is just being realistic. So to go back to the argument of, if we do this, even if DJI decided to manufacture something in the United States, there's no infrastructure for them to do it at the scale at which they're doing it right now in China. So I'm going to get off my soapbox, not that it's a soapbox, but that's, I think, where we are, and it should be solved. I'm not disagreeing with this, but in the meantime, let's not cut the branch that we're sitting on in order to make that happen. There is no possible way that we can ban DJI tomorrow and not fall into the middle age of technology, of drone technology tomorrow at the same time. The rest of the world will laugh at us and will take over, essentially. Think about every other country will have access to that technology, and we won't. Okay. Good times. You guys are asking good question. I don't know if I'm more philosophical tonight. All right. Jonathan says, in Louisiana, we have parishes with drone detection system for critical infrastructure requiring their own authorization 24 hours in advance of drone flights. Will this become the norm in all parishes in country? I don't understand what do you mean they require authorization 24 hours in advance? They do not control airspace, so they should not require anything. They don't have any priority because they have an autonomous detection system for their infrastructure. There is no such thing. So they should not require anything. They should not prevent you from flying. They have no access, no control of the airspace, even on top of their parishes. It's currently not illegal to own a DJI in the United States. That's correct, but it is illegal to buy one from Canada and bring it back to the United States. That is correct, Bill. Is this our own Bill? Good friend of the channel? Who's Bill? No, different Bill. Anyways, Bill is right. Bill is correct that right now we have seen a memo. We're still trying to get information on this, but somebody on a forum mentioned that they were bringing a Matrice 350 back from Canada, which they brought to Canada from the United States. They were going back to the United States from Canada, and they were stopped at the border from bringing the drone back in the US because it was a DJI drone. So I think there's more to the story potentially. The devil is in the details here, but we're trying to get more information from that person right now through Vic and a few other people. And so we'll see what happens, but it's concerning. Let's put it this way. Vertical Vantage says, I plan to fly for a concert using the Avata 2. I have my Part 107. I need to apply for a waiver. If you are going to fly over people, then yes, you are going to need a waiver to fly over people. That drone is not categorized 1, 2, or 3, or 4. So you'll need to get a waiver from the FAA. The good news is the Avata 2 is in that branch that's sub 400 grams and has prop guards already, so the approval is possible. Second thing to think about, check with your insurance company. The concert will not let you fly, almost guaranteed, will not let you fly the drone without having some sort of insurance coverage. Your insurance company is unlikely to let you fly a drone over people, even if you get FAA approval. Talk to them first before you do any work and say, I plan on doing this. This is how I plan on doing it. I'm going to get a waiver. What will this be covered with in my insurance rider? Okay. Michael says, what's a good way to convince an event director that the city council approval is not needed to film an event that is not OOP? We contacted the local police and landowner, and they are good. I mean, That's a good question. How do you convince someone if they have preconceived ideas? And it's not like, it's one of these things where if it's not prohibited, it's allowed, right? So how do you show that something is not prohibited? By showing that there is no rule against it. That's what you're against, right? You're against showing something that doesn't exist. You're saying there's no rules. Well, show me there's no rule, but there is no rule. I can't show you because there's no rule, right? So, yeah. So that's where we're at. That sucks. A letter from the city council that says that it's not approved. But then if you get the city council approved, they might start to think, oh, maybe we need to get an approval for this. But in this case, landowner, local police, landowner is all you need as far as I'm concerned. And obviously you're not flying over people. So landowner and airspace, if there is any airspace approval needed, that's all you should need. Trailcam Sam says, I have a Matrice 4E and I'm looking to purchase a second. Awesome. Do you believe that it's the best to wait for the price to drop with the tariff or buy an older Mavic 3E? Have you heard news from the parachute for the M4? Okay, multiple question. First question, is it good to wait for the price to drop because of the tariff? Obviously, there's a pause right now on Chinese tariffs for 90 days, which started last week. So there's still a little whiles to go. And so the problem is that you need to see that price, that drop in tariff reflected in the pricing from the resellers. So if you can find one from the resellers that's at a good price, then I would do that. Obviously, like Jared said earlier, the Mavic 3 Enterprise is a great drone. The question is for you, how long can you wait not having a second drone? If you're losing money every day because you don't have the drone, the Mavic 3 is going to do the job just fine, like it has done for several years now. So personally, if I'm losing money because I don't have the drone to fly, I'm just going to buy a Mavic 3E and make it happen. And then later on, if you want to buy another one, then you sell a Mavic 3E and then you get a Matrice 4. But that's just my personal, it depends on your situation, obviously. Next is the 1-inch 20 megapixel sensor in the Air 2S still able to hold up against newer drone for photography, waving from the Bahamas. Awesome. I mean, the Air 2S is a highly capable drone. I don't know that it is as sharp necessarily as some of the newer sensors, but again, the drone that you have is the best drone, right? It's just like the camera that you have is the best camera that you can use. So it all excuse me, it all depends on what your goal is at this point. Like what are you trying to do with a new drone? We're getting a new drone, but Air 2S is more than capable, especially at a time where it is difficult to find other drones available for sale. Is any of the Part 107 training transferable to the Sport Pilot Certificate education requirement? Yeah, I mean, there's going to be quite a bit of the content that is going to transfer to manned aircraft world, airspace. You'll get a good understanding of the airspace, although there are some additional complexities when you fly the airplane into the airspace. So it's a good base. Let's put it this way. The Part 107 is a good foundation that you can build onto in order to get the sport certificate. I still recommend that you take a course. We do recommend that sport applicants take the private pilot course. To give you an idea of scale, 15 hours in the Part 107 course, that's how many hours of content we have, 35 hours in the private pilot course. So sport pilot is going to be very close to the private pilot as far as knowledge. So I would go with that. But like I said, great foundation to get started. TIE Fighter says, merch question, with the old status on current order being processed, I know you guys have been having issues in the past with the previous company. Yeah, we have had issues with the company. It's always a different excuse coming from them. But last issue that we saw from a customer, and to be fair, these issues are not every single day, right? There maybe once a month we get an issue. But the latest issue was one of their machine had broken, supposedly, allegedly, and they weren't able to process the stuff. So we are in the process of ramping up our own merch store. Obviously, 135% tariff hasn't helped on some of the things that we get from China. And we do have other items that are not produced in China, so we are getting those. And but yeah, we're hoping we're kind of building inventory right now, and then hoping to start selling. We received, I almost wish we could have a sampler to show. Maybe somebody in the back that heard me can bring me one of the new landing pad that we got. They're really, really cool. They're first off, they come in a neat bag. They're nicely folded. They're really high quality. So I think that's going to be one of the first items that we put out is the landing pad, because we have them. They're cool. We have other things also, but the landing pad I was really impressed with. So, but yeah, that's where we are. That's kind of the status right now. But the current provider, if you go to merch.pilotinstitute.com, that is being fulfilled, sometimes with a delay, but yep. That's right, Sparky. Landing pad. Is there a market for older drones such as the Mavic 1 and the Mavic Air? I don't think so. I mean, there's a market for everything, right? You can buy an older iPhone, you can buy an older car, you can buy an older everything. It all depends, but I don't think it's a big market, let's put it this way. But somebody who's going to be starting to fly drones and they don't want to spend a whole lot of money, sure, let's buy a Mavic 1 and just go fly it. I mean, you know. Bob's in the comment. He says, thanks for the tour. It was amazing. You're welcome. That's Bob from Old Farts with Drone. They were here with a big group and with Tom and a few other folks. That was good. That was a great discussion with them. They were the first visitors, actually, official visitors to the new building. I think I hear a delivery. It's not a drone delivery, but it's close to it. I hear somebody coming in the studio. Maybe. Yeah, it's a Jason. It's a small hike to get here. Give me the whole thing. Gonna do an unboxing. So it comes in a neat little bag, just like this. And then, as you can expect, it's pink and blue. It's thick. It's like this leather-ish. I don't know what you call it. It's not leather, obviously, but it feels like the fake leather, kind of. And then, yeah, it's got a nice little protection here. Beautiful blue, very heavy, kind of like will definitely stay on the ground. Blue on one side, pink on the other. Nice logo, Pilot Institute. And then also comes with stakes. Except the stakes are yellow. Ha! Blue, pink would have been better, but yeah, comes with stakes. You can put them in the ground. If you live in an area where it will go in the ground, not us, the ground is too hard here. But yeah, that's and it's pretty big. What is that? Maybe 2 feet by 2 feet. Yeah, looks like 2 feet by 2 feet. So it's pretty sizable. It will basically fit anything all the way to a Matrice 300, 350. Okay. Where were we? You guys got me sidetracked. IBX says this is not really a drone question. But why are drones so heavily regulated? For example, FAR Part 103 for ultralight, which are more dangerous, is only 2 pages and simple. So Part 103 ultralight, I would argue, are more dangerous because the pilot is on board of the aircraft. And as such, it means that the pilot will take a lot less risk. What is the last time that you heard of an ultralight crashing, getting in the news, hitting someone, doing really anything all that bad? Not very often. Also, the amount of ultralights out there compare to the number of drones, right? Millions of drones out there compared to 1,000-ish ultralights. And I'm not excusing the fact that drones are heavily regulated, but drones are regulated because there is a lot of them, and they can be flown without the same feel, the same level of risk or perceived risk from the operator. Let's put it this way. Okay. Okay Boomer says, has Pilot Institute considered doing deep dive videos for the myriad of software application? Yes, we are, and we are working on that. So we just had a discussion last week about it. So, the difficulty with doing software, and I'll tell you why we've stayed away from doing software, is because a lot of the software, especially several years ago, was still evolving very fast. And so you put out a deep dive, and then a week later, the software looks completely different. And so now you have to redo this whole production. Producing courses is not for the faint of heart. It takes a long time. It's got to be scripted. We got to know what we're going to be talking about. We got to do screen records. We obviously have to edit all of that. If as soon as we do this, the software changes, then we have to go back in front of camera and record all of this and do the whole process again. So we've been pretty reluctant. With that being said, I think more and more now the software is a bit more stable in the sense that it doesn't change all that much every so often. And so I think we can do that. But a course, has a lifespan of 3 to 5 years before we have to re-record it. A normal course, a software course, is going to be more like a year, if that. And so also we offer all these deep dives for free. So we have to balance between creating paid content, which pays the bills, our employees and all of that, and creating free content. So yeah, there's a tough balance between the two. I wish we had unlimited resources and we could do all of these all the time, but the reality is that we don't. Next, we have our DJI drone sent from South Korea getting through, and what tariff cost. Not familiar with that. I'm not familiar with that. I'm thinking about getting a DJI Mini 3 or Flip. Many reviews, including Pilot Institute, say the sound of the Flip is terrible. How bad is it? It's not great. Let's put it this way. I will take a Mini 3. If you're only basing it on the sound, I'll take a Mini 3 any day over a Flip. But yeah, the Flip doesn't sound all that great, unfortunately. Curtis says, I recently looked at insurance. The advertised rate was substantially more than the quote that I got for a month. What insurance have you found to be a good recommendation? I stopped recommending insurance a while back. You have to shop around. It's a difficult thing. I don't think there is a perfect solution for anyone and everyone. And so, yeah. So that's interesting that your rate has changed, though. Advertised rate was substantially more than the quote that I got for a month. I wonder what's changed. I wonder why that happened. Interesting. I'm trying to become an Orange County Sheriff Professional Service Provider for flying drones. Which Part 107 class should I take? Oh, we have 2 classes. We have one for public safety and one for non-public safety. I mean, at the end of the day, the information in the course is the same. The difference is that we use examples in the public safety course that are more public safety oriented than we would in the Part 107 course. So that's where... yeah, if you're trying to do this, probably the public safety one. I mean, you can't lose. It's the same content. I updated my DJI firmware, but I don't see the save to cloud option. Not there anymore. It didn't ask if I wanted to save to the cloud either. Is this something with my updates? Nope, DJI turned that off. They do not allow people to save the flights to the cloud. They were officially, they didn't say that that was the reason, but my feeling is that they kept being told that they're stealing information from customers. So they basically said, we'll shut that down and we don't need your information. And so again, because of, can we bleep? Because of dumbass politicians, we end up losing tools that we enjoyed, especially when the syncing of information was something that you could opt out of if you wanted to. You could turn that off if you didn't want it. But no, can't have nice things because of these idiots. So there we are. Adnesis says, as a Mexican living in Mexico but traveling frequently to the US, can I take the Part 107? I don't know if it's available for US citizens. No, you can. It is available to anyone. You don't have to be a US citizen. There's no such requirement. The only thing is you will have to take the test in the United States at a testing center, but you can study in Mexico. Next time you come to the US, you can take the test, and within 3 or 4 days, you'll have a temporary certificate and you'll be able to operate. But yeah, absolutely. We have a lot of foreign students who did that. Any update on the flight dispatch course? Yeah, we are approved. I don't know if I mentioned it on this podcast, but we are approved to provide dispatch training now by the FAA, which was an 8-month approval. It took a while, but we get there. We are finalizing the sales page right now. We've got, it's getting coded to go on the website, which is exciting. And then we'll have more information very soon. So we stay posted. Tavin, if you're coming back in a couple of weeks, I should have something. I think our deadline is by the end of May to have this stuff live. And then our first class, official class, will be at the end of June. And then we'll have more classes starting in August as well. So good stuff. Yep, that's where we are. If someone had to send a drone back to DJI for repair, what are the chances the drone will not be allowed back in the country? So from what I've been told, the repairs are being done in the United States. So it would not have to leave the country. That's at least what has been mentioned. James says, yeah, there was a report Greg mentioned earlier about someone from the US having their M350 disallowed to come back in the US, even with the Carnet paperwork for those drones. Yep. They took them to Canada. We're not allowed to bring them back. I would not take any DJI drone out of the US right now. I agree, until this is sorted. I agree with James. James, longtime follower, extremely knowledgeable person, and I would absolutely agree. Steven says, I am flying as a recreational pilot. I thought I could fly up to 400 feet over AGL. That's correct. And 400 feet over towers and buildings. You cannot. My controller only displays. Nope. So that the recreational role, the 400 I call it, the 400 foot over an obstacle, if you're within 400 foot of the obstacle, is only a Part 107 regulation. It is not available for recreational pilots. Recreational pilots cannot fly any higher than 400 feet AGL. Okay, so that's a no. Unfortunately, you cannot do that unless you take the Part 107 test. That's one of the benefits of doing all the work for the Part 107, is that you can do that. Has anyone else had issues requesting Lance on past missions on Aloft? I have not, but we also don't fly a whole lot in Lance airspace. But no, never had any issues. How will the dispatch course work? Just like any other course of yours or live classes? Great question, Tavin. So we are going to be providing the course. The first class is going to be all in person. It's 200 hours of content. So I think it ends up being 10 weeks, 9 or 10 weeks of content. It's going to be pretty heavy. After that, the goal is to have 100 hours online, followed by 100 hours in person. So you will still need to be here. The plan is to have you here for 3 weeks and in person, and then do the check ride or the final test, the final exam. and then be on your way. But yeah, it will be more than likely a 6 weeks online followed by 3 weeks in person, and then you'll be able to attend. So kind of exciting. Is there anything a recreational pilot can do that a 107 cannot? No. Typically, the recreational thing has been designed to be much more, well, I take that back. Flying a drone under 250 grams without having it registered. That's the main advantage of the recreational side. That's it, really. Otherwise, no, you can't get waiver as a recreational pilot, meaning you can never fly over 400 feet. There's a caveat, I'll get to that in a minute. You cannot fly higher than the grid numbers in controlled airspace as a recreational pilot. You cannot fly over people or moving vehicle because you need a waiver, and that's not available. There are quite a few limitations that, well, there are quite a few things that you can do with a Part 107. Remember, the recreational thing is an exemption from Part 107. So all drones that fly in the United States have to follow Part 107 rules, except for the exemption, right? Except for some recreational flights. And to do that, you have to follow the strict set of rules. And if you don't qualify for one of these, then you're no longer flying recreational. You're no longer exempt from Part 107. It reverts back to Part 107. 100 miles an hour. That's true. You could fly. That's a good one. You could fly higher, faster than 100 miles an hour recreationally, which is kind of mind-blowing. But yeah, I don't know why there was a restriction on 100 miles an hour in the first place. But here we are. Is there next question? Hike and Fly says, for the person that is not allowed to bring their drone back in the US, couldn't they log and show that the drone has been activated and how long? It shows that in the DJI account. That's a good question. I don't know. They were told by CBP that CBP had received a memo that disallowed drones to enter, disallowed DJI products from re-entering the United States or entering the United States. We got a copy of it. I don't know that I can share, but the DJI wasn't specifically mentioned. It was more of I don't even know how to explain it. But DJI wasn't mentioned by name. They used a backdoor to prevent that drone from coming back in the US. So Tavin says, flying to Kingman tomorrow out of KBVU for the first time. Any food recommendation or airport tricks in Kingman? Kingman is not a really big airport. I don't even know if there is a restaurant in Kingman. Where did we get the pies? In, oh man, my brain. Tom will tell me in a second. No. Anyway, eastern part of Arizona has a place with good pies, and I don't know why I can't remember the name because it's there. But yeah, anyways. Nope, I don't have recommendation. The airport is pretty small. Payson, thank you. Payson is where we get the pies. If you go to Payson, you got to get the pies. One time we actually have a video on the channel where we did that. Well, you were there, Ethan. You were in the back, right? Yeah, we went to Payson. We all fell asleep on the way back, pretending to fall asleep on the way back, get some funny footage. Dralin says, I am heading to Africa next month and hoping to take DJI Mini 4 Pro. The drone is registered with the FAA and sticker on the drone. I do have Part 107 done and received my card. Will I face any issue while entering back into the States? Good question. I don't know. If it looks like a used drone, I don't see how they can say that you can't come back to the United States. This is something that you purchased that is your property. How can they say that you cannot bring this thing back in the United States? It's not like you're bringing drugs back in the US. That makes no sense to me. So I don't know. And I don't want to scare you by saying, well, it's probably going to get confiscated because I don't know. And then, I can say, well, you'll be fine. But then you come back and then you have, I don't know. This is just mind-blowing to me that we are at this point. Like, this is just absolutely mind-blowing to me. Steve A says, where's the lava lamp? It's a little bit off to the side. it's not on. But we had the logo today, so we decided that the logo was enough. No lava lamp. Maybe we'll put a lava lamp on the other side next time. We're still playing with this set. This set is pretty cool. No, oh yeah, Ben tells me, we're almost done with the show here. Ben says no live Q&A next Monday because we are going to be, I guess these guys are hoping for a day off next Monday or something. We'll find out. No. Monday is Memorial Day. We will be spending it with the families. So yeah, no live Q&A next Monday, but we will be back the following Monday. So yeah, I think this is the end of the show. Thank you all for joining, as always. If you have additional questions, you know where to find us. But we've got cool content that we recorded last week that should be out probably the following week. And yeah, don't be that guy, as always. I don't want to talk about you next Friday in News Update. We will have News Update on Friday and the following Friday. But yeah, we'll see you guys very soon. Fly safe and see you next time.